brush stroke. We can do that. I know that works. We will wait a few more minutes for one last commissioner to arrive. Then we will call our meeting to order. It all depends.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Bettina Brewer. I teach yoga down at the bandstand at
Oh, nice meeting you.
And I think we have a letter that you sent in.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome.
It's
Thank
great.
you.
Why don't you have
It's
this,
okay?
have the seat here?
I
Sure.
feel important right up here at the table.
Well, you should feel important at any time. We are just waiting for one more commissioner to join us, and then I'll call the meeting to order at the top of the hour.
Since
What happens if I start tapping this thing?
huh?
If I start tapping it?
No.
No.
I think
Jack, I think you might need to be a little bit closer.
what's that?
I think your microphone needs to be a little bit closer.
There you go. That's all right. They've heard enough from me. Do you want to give them this when you speak? Just kind of formally do that. Just have to give them so you got that for this meeting.
We'd love to hear about it. Well, at the top of the hour, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of Nantucket Park and Recreation Commission to order for September 18th, 2014. Here in attendance, we have Commissioner Rich Turer, Jack Gardner, and I am Nash Strudwick. Good evening. With the approval of this agenda as it's been presented, I'm going to go ahead and adopt it. And meeting minutes from our last August session have been pulled together and sent out to us all for review. If there are no objections, I'm going to approve the minutes as they've been presented. All right, thank you very much. Floor is open for public comment, and then we will jump right into our new business guest this evening. Seeing nobody here, I'm going to stick to our agenda completely. I'll start with the Nantucket Athenaeum as our first guest this evening to discuss the turkey plunge. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Lisa Lothian.
Hi, Lisa. Tell us what you'd like to do this evening.
So
The microphone.
we are seeking permission to host the 13th annual cold turkey plunge on Thanksgiving morning, as we've done so 12 years prior. And everything has ran smoothly, and if there have been problems in the past, we've corrected those, and we're always working to make it a fun, safe event for everyone, and I think everyone enjoys it.
And your request is to get fair weather from us?
70 and sunny.
Warm weather.
Right, how do we feel about that?
Move approval.
I think that we're very familiar with the project, to support it completely. I think it has been a success and a wonderful program as a fundraiser. Approval has been made, a second has been made. All those in favor?
Aye.
Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Can somebody provide a signature?
Yes.
Okay.
I can.
Thank you.
Is that a special pen?
And you can erase with the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of my son's pens from school. He popped off or broke off the clip.
I don't know if you have one
Nothing else
for,
going on in
like we
class.
have for one for every bill you sign.
But I do the crossword puzzles with this pen that has an eraser on the other side. People look at me and go, oh, you're doing a pen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a
Hope
great
to see
event.
everybody
That was
there.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, this evening, our second guest, we are just zooming through. You almost missed it,
I did not. I was 1 minute late. I'm sorry for being late.
Oh, we're going to go so quickly. It's just, we could have been through everything here. We are talking about morning yoga at Children's Beach.
So I have my annual letter to the department with a
Okay.
check in it, just thanking all of you for the privilege of teaching down there, and I'm seeking your permission to continue the same program next summer. I think next summer will be our 15th. I'm looking at you. It's
I don't mind.
15th to 16th, so I think it's 15. It would be 15 next summer.
Rounded to a decade and a half.
Yeah, yeah. And I do have a lot of people who return every year and are very grateful for the opportunity.
May I ask you to read this letter into the record? It's
Sure.
very nice.
Dear Parks and Recreation Commissioners, thank you for another successful season of teaching yoga at the Bandstand at Children's Beach. I received a high number of return students, some of whom have been coming for many, many years. There was also a nice flow of new faces. I am so very grateful for the opportunity to teach such an appreciative group in so beautiful a setting. I continue to have a handful of students who tell me that doing yoga early in the morning at Children's Beach is a favorite part of their Nantucket experience. Although I do not see the numbers of students I did a dozen years ago due to a tremendous increase in the venues for yoga, I couldn't ask for a more enthusiastic audience. I look forward to continuing the yoga program in the summer of 2015 with your permission, of course.
Thank you very much. It's been a popular program. It's been something we have, for many years, given our full support to, and there's a motion I'd like to continue.
Okay, I got one point to bring up.
Yep.
If the fee schedule changes, it might change between now and summer. If the town decides to come up with a new fee schedule, that will make a difference in this. So we can approve it subject to any new fee schedule there might be.
Which will be out of our control.
Right,
Well, no, not completely. We will certainly have a say in what goes on.
right.
And do you have a sense when they will know, simply because if I had to raise my fees, I need time to make new flyers?
We don't know.
I
5
don't know.
years, maybe.
Well, yes.
Oh, well, they cannot implement something so late in the season that we can't start
Right.
commitments from people.
But
and
your
then
space is
gradually.
approved
Yes.
by this meeting.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So between now and early spring, they should have it done. I hope they get it done sooner. They seem to be working on this stuff earlier this year, starting on next year's stuff, so maybe they will. But it's something out of our control as far as starting it.
I spoke last evening with a woman who's been teaching yoga at Jetty's Beach this summer, and I was curious whether she had sought your permission. And she said no, she hadn't gotten any permission, except Marshall, who leases the concession stand, had told her that she could teach up there on the concession stand, and then she just said on her own, she just moved down to the beach. So I just wondered, what should I pass on to her that she does need to come in front of?
You've passed it on to us.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so,
We'll follow up with that. Thank you.
yeah, okay. Out of my hands.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So we hope we can expedite the fee structure and participate, in the conversation as well. It's something that's been ongoing with others in town working on that. and hopefully we'll be able to collaborate and get that done sooner than later, even prior to spring.
Right.
It would be
Yes.
nice, and we understand your sensitivity, and would affect your rates if it was to increase. So-
We had seen an effort to adjust the rates, or the whole fee structure, earlier this year. And it was, the structures were set up based on a selectmen's fee back in 2010, I believe, Jack?
Right, yes.
And the numbers came out, and they were all over the place. And so and everyone realized that. There was conflict, and they decided to pull it all back. So we're hoping they're going at it now. They're looking at fee structures that are established, that have been approved by the selectmen, and they're making changes to that. And I would expect minor changes, but we never really know until it happens.
So what I'd like to suggest is take a look at our schedule, and you may want to check back or communicate with us, or through, would it be appropriate through David's office? Nash, just to find out what the disposition is of this?
Yes, because David will know if the fee structures come out, just
Yeah.
as a town
Mhm.
position.
So November?
Oh, I don't think we'll have it in November. No,
It's a slow
I think it's
process.
after the first
By
of the year.
June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Before you
I'm
need to,
here.
before you need to notify them in June, it
Yes.
should be done.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I
Thank
guess
you.
we're just being candid.
Fine.
All right. There we go. Thank you. And you are with the...
I'm Marjorie.
Marjorie, with the children's dance and sing movement that has been going on at the bandstand forever as well.
Yeah, this was, thank you. I have to thank you all. This is a thank you not just from me, you guys. This is a thank you from, like, a lot of kids and families. This was my 20th year down there. So I was teaching kids I had taught my first year, which was kind of scary, but really, really nice. So much gratitude from parents, grandparents now, and their kids. So yeah, I would love, I wrote a letter, but I don't have it because I emailed it to David.
Yes, we have
So
it
you guys
in
have
our
it?
file.
Okay, you got my
Yes,
letter.
thank you.
It basically says, thank you so much, and I would love to continue, and that I know, I had been informed last year about the possible rate change, and I understand that, and that last year the thinking was it wouldn't go up too much if it went up, and I'm hoping it won't, because,
So are we.
but, yeah, so I'm going to trust that the guardian angels do what they can to keep it good, but if you would allow me to continue, a lot of people would be really, really happy. So.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so
Got the
much.
space again.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. And if they know by May, it's even easier because then I can put brochures. That's all.
We will all be anticipating a proactive measure.
So we'll just keep contacting you
Yes.
guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You can choose to stay, if you don't like. But you know-
Those are our three those are our new business agenda items this evening. So you all are welcome to stay or not, or you can just
Or
listen to
not.
us have a meeting.
But thank you.
I'll give you back your meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All right, you-
Thank you for being so concise.
It works.
Thank you.
It was 20 years ago when the neighbors hired me to oppose the construction of the bandstand at
Oh,
Children's Beach.
really?
Not in my backyard. That's all.
NIMBY,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Yes. Fourth item this evening is our election of the vice chairman. Are there any, is there any discussion before we move this forward in any way?
I think Keith or Jack would be fantastic.
I think that to table it until a next member is appointed and evaluated at that time. And in the meanwhile, until that point comes, if we need to elect a chairman for a meeting, we can, if there's a majority present, and do so at that meeting. And so until a new member is appointed, I think that for those reasons, I would move to table that item.
I'm not going to throw you under the bus right now. I'm just not. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? One. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
You opposed?
Yes. right. Old business, jumping right in. With our favorite commissioner.
I contacted Mrs. Maury regarding the transfer of funds from Babe Ruth to Nantucket Little League, and she found no reason not to, except for not knowing who at Nantucket Little League was the person to contact as the recipient. I sent her that information as to who to contact, and then followed up with her once and then twice, the second time being yesterday, and have yet to receive any response.
Well, that's a lot of great news, though.
But I'm trying.
Clearly. Oh, you've gotten further since we put you on this than we were able to get in 5 or 6 years. So thank you very much for that. Our next business this evening concerns the Nobody Road athletic fields. Kara, good evening.
How you doing? Got all your flyers out there?
I'm sorry.
Got all your flyers out there?
And after the landfill burned, the fire department had flares that they wanted to get rid of, so we were burning them yesterday.
Right.
And a lot of people were not happy that things were being burned out there.
Great.
The
Thank
bomb
you.
squad had come from
Wow.
Boston, so kind of had to do it when they were there.
Dispose of unused flares.
This is
I recognize the website.
This is just the screenshots of the way to get to the field schedule. When the email was sent earlier, it had a link to where it was located, but if somebody coming into the site had wanted to find it, it was a little bit difficult. So on the very first page, you go to the calendar, you pick a day, any day that's underlined, and it will take you to the next screen, which is the second page. And there are a variety of different calendars here. And when you go to athletic fields, you come to the third page. And this contains the information about who's there and when and so forth. Silvio and Jason are still working on some issues with putting more than one item on a day. There was no way to specify a time, so Jason is working on getting a time so that, for instance, on September 4th, where it says Mariah Mitchell Association and Sam Chambers Lacrosse, he's going to be able to have times in there so that people can click on it and make a choice of which items.
Kara, if you were to click on this, does it take you to like a little pop-up that says that it's 4 to 5, or this would be the extent of it?
No, I believe that when you hover over it, you get a little...
Which would give you the time, but they're trying to set it up where the time is on this calendar
visible,
too.
yeah.
Okay.
So there's another page after this that would happen if you clicked on it.
No, it's just a little...
It's a little
Then
window.
you hover over it, and then you get a little pop-up. So it's the same page, just a little additional.
We'll go for dinner, David.
And this is what's going on. If someone uses this and wants to book time, how is that handled?
They called the office right now, and we have a field permit that they have to sign, as well as if it's an organization, they have to give us insurances that indemnify the town. If it's not an organization, if it's, for instance, adult softball for the summer, each individual signs off on it.
They're pulling wires.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess I'll just go to the site and it says submit a request. It goes to an application form or just a phone number?
Submit a request goes directly to the IT department, and they direct it to whoever it needs to go to. So I get a lot of questions about work and so forth. I haven't actually gotten any requests submitted through the calendar. Most of the time I get those directly to my email address.
And where are the costs associated with the program on something like this?
That is, it depends on what kind of a arrangement it is. So if it's, for instance, the adult softball, each team pays $200 for the season, and that is paid directly to the town when they get the field permit. If it's a youth sports organization, it's $100 per team, and if it's a camp, they have to pay 15% of their receipts. And I think moving forward, when the discussion of fees comes up, we'd like to change that, because there's really no way to determine how much they're making. So it makes it kind of difficult to chase them back, and they don't pay until afterwards.
That's what they want to do with these dance people too. The same thing, change it to a better way, because they really don't know how
And the
many.
percentage is fair, but it's,
Right. It was the old way of doing things.
but you can't do that in trust at the same
Right,
time.
right.
It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. You can always do a minimum and then a percentage, which is
Carol?
what First Method does, and it keeps on ratcheting up,
Right.
but that's complicated.
So are these fee structures, have they been in place for a long period of time and they're available online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are available online.
Yes, yeah, if you go to the, Dave, you didn't move it, did you? It's still on Parks and Recreation
I haven't done
Commission.
anything to it.
So, there's if you go to Parks and Recreation, there's a link you can click on, it's fees.
And that would have the fees for these things, right?
It does include things at Children's, which is why I asked David, because I know that he and Kate are talking about changing something.
Right.
How do we determine where these events are going on? What fields people are looking for?
When you-
I'm confused by seeing Mariah Mitchell and Sam Chambers across.
When you hover over it, it says which one it is. Mariah Mitchell was actually on the Nova Deer Fields. They used it to do some kind of a science experiment. I know at one point they were doing some rocketry, and another time they did. So in the summer, on a weekly basis, they were using the field to do some work with their students.
Well, I look forward to this. It's a great start.
It's great.
It is, good, yeah.
Yep, have to give kudos to Jason and Sylvia. They worked pretty hard on putting it together.
We've needed this for a while, so I'm sure we'll only get more detail if we can get things out. Okay.
I did want to let you know that the turf field got painted in the 8v8s. Rich Brannigan Jr. uses the 8v8s for his fall program, so that was painted before the season started.
Good.
That's good.
So he's using that field. We have put in the CPC application for the field house. Larry Kester is going to be moving that through. He met with Bill McGuire at Nantucket Architecture Group,
Good.
and we have asked him to give us a number for the building that you and I had talked about, just a rectangular structure with ADA accessible male and female bathrooms, a small storage space for field equipment and that kind of thing for the sports
With a
groups.
big door kind of thing?
Kitchen, well, that one would just have a regular door. Kitchen with the sinks that are required and a refrigerator, and then the balance of the front would have the garage door
Okay.
with for storage of the
Sounds good.
equipment.
Simple.
Yep.
And no
One-
basement,
No basement.
no office upstairs for Mr. Manchester? Okay.
The roof line is different as well. what Bill had indicated is the fewer angles, the better. So he, instead of working on the hip
Save a lot of money.
yeah, he's going to do just the pitched roof. We had talked with him about the health department not allowing at Delta Field the grill to be used
Right.
without some kind of protection around it. So he's going to price out an alternative for us to do, he called it like a little pavilion, but with closed doors that they could keep the grill in, open it up, and it would be under an awning that connected to the kitchen. So that awning and the little pavilion will be an extra. We asked for $700,000.
Yes.
The original request was $350. There's $160,000 left. We're working with Heidi Bauer to extend the contract. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to. She has a requirement that, or the state has a requirement, that contracts can only be extended by 25%, and I don't know how much it's going to be for him to redesign. So we may end up having to enter into a new contract.
Rebid it in a new contract, right?
Paul Boucher is working on the fields. He has made an agreement with Shampoo Landscaping to bring a contractor on island to do deep tine aeration. Because the Novadear fields were built with heavy equipment, the soil is quite compacted.
Right.
We've been aerating with shorter tines, and they're going to be coming in with, I think they're 8-inch tines, to deeply aerate the soil, and then Shampoo will do the fertilization.
Reseed it?
Yeah, oversee after the aeration and then do.
Good. That's great.
So he's really taking good care of the grass fields. The one thing that we don't have for the turf fields is the gator that we need to spread the rubber pellets and the different things that need to happen on the turf field. So I have approached Charlie Gibson about possibly utilizing one of the ones that the beach officers use.
You need something like that to tow it around.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right, because of the big tires and whatnot.
Exactly. You need it to spread the load so
Right.
you don't end up creating
Right.
trenches in the turf. We have, as I'm sure you noticed, big bags of the rubber pellets.
Right.
And what they're telling us is that, especially after the first year, you really have to go in and kind of York rake it and get the grass to stand up again, and then
Do they have a special rake, do they?
I believe it's just a York rake.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That you can use. Pull it behind the gator, and then use the gator to spread additional rubber pellets.
Right.
when you need it. I am working with Anise Electric. They've left a trailer at the water company from when they did the water tank. And since we don't have any place to store stuff out there, and I'm kind of concerned that if somebody decides to stick a pencil into those gigantic bags of pellets, we're going to have a mess on our hands. So we'll be purchasing it's a tractor trailer size storage unit, and putting that temporarily at Novadear so we can get the
All those
vehicles
pellets in
and
there.
the pellets undercover. So
Good.
we did have a erosion from the high portion of the field into the turf field. So Sylvia's working with the contractor to let them know that they came looking for release of the retainage. It was that the grass is not growing well enough around the turf field, and they didn't grade it properly so that there was a swale that would catch.
Are they going to reseed that?
They're going to have to, yeah. It's
Right,
just not
because
working.
you haven't got 5% growth.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
They seeded it, and then they hired somebody to water it, but nobody's seen anybody over there water it.
I only saw somebody once.
Yeah.
Once, the only time I ever saw anybody there
And
watering.
it just, especially with tightly packed soils, you need to
Right.
keep it watered all the time. Yeah, they're not getting their retainage anytime soon.
So they don't get their last payment until this is done.
No,
Right,
not till the
great.
grass is gone.
How much is that last payment?
5% of the total?
I believe it's 10%. I have to get you the exact number
That's right.
off the top of my head.
It's large enough.
Yeah. What else do we have? Pastor and I met after we were here the last time with Bart at the Children's Beach concession stand.
Right.
Oh, before we go to another location, staying over here, how about some of the equipment that Rich Brannigan was talking about? Rich, do you want to say?
Well, Garris just addressed several of the issues. I thought there was a particular
goals?
custom rake that was there, but you're suggesting no, but I understood we didn't have the equipment to pull it regardless, so it looks like you're looking for a solution
It's the
for
gator
that.
there is a
Great.
couple of other, I don't know that it's a rake, but there is a couple of other
Right,
pieces.
I didn't know what they were either. I saw a
Yeah.
couple of pieces of equipment.
Yeah, and Paul has been working with the contractor, and he's been to a turf field educational seminar
Good.
to make sure that we're treating it appropriately. The big no-nos are organic, like food and drink, and dirt.
Right. And you're going to get plenty of dirt, dust from
So, thank you. There
that
was
unseated area.
Rich Brannigan had mentioned when I visited with him that it's not a sprinkler system, but there is actually water underneath the field, but it requires a particular special hose. I can go back through CPC and find out if that was originally spec. The assumption was if they paid the money to install the water system and have the doors to access that, then it's supposed to be used and it should have been in.
I thought it was just a regular hose.
Yeah,
that
I was told no, but
Okay.
I'm not suggesting that I'm right. I was told that it required a special piece of equipment, so I'll go back through CPC then.
Yeah, as I understood, the only piece that we didn't have was the gator.
Okay. And then also the question was whether or not, when the field was spec'd, whether they had, part of the purchase order was 2 new goals, because they're also taking and moving goals and.
Yeah, I know that was not included.
That
I
was
had
not
to
included,
purchase
okay.
those separately from over at Hyannis. I forget the name of the sports.
But they've since been ordered?
I ordered 2 brand new big
You
ones
did? Okay.
before the spring season.
Hmm.
We had 2 big ones, he had 2 big ones, and we got 2 more. So I thought we had sufficient.
I'll go back and speak to
Okay,
Richard,
okay.
but he suggested that they were still moving goals, and so whether it's youth soccer or whatever, thought it was part of the original process.
You know what it might be is since he's doing the APA this season,
Mhm.
he's going to need a minimum of 4 sets. I'm sorry, a minimum of 2 sets. And I did not purchase any.
Okay. So I'll follow up with Rich, I'll send you a note, I'll check with CPC, and we'll find out what the solution might be.
Yeah, I think the 8v8s would be on him. The large ones would be on us, because that's what we built, where we spec out the big sets.
Great, but all the other issues in the
What
field.
CPC may have approved was not actually what was built, and it could have been with the 2 sets of small ones.
I'll double check.
One other question, and it preceded the turf fields, and that was the irrigation system on the regular Noblier fields.
Mhm.
They went dry for a very long time.
This recently?
No, I'm talking over the last, once they were put in, they went dry for a while, and I'm just curious if that's been addressed for the season?
Well, the water system, I'm not clear on, to tell you the truth. The water company just billed us in the last month to install a water line. So I don't know if there was one that, there might have been a well before.
I think we're on a pump before that.
Was it?
That little shed that there, I think,
It's a well pump.
might be a pump house.
Okay, because the water just came in, for the turf field, like this past spring,
But I think we've got sprinklers on the other 2 fields.
from the irrigate,
But
from the well.
well, those I think were turned off earlier in the summer.
I had talked to Paul when we had talked about turning it back.
Oh,
I
turn it
don't-
back, okay.
I don't know that it was off. I would have
Okay.
to check with him, because we had talked about watering it less, as long as it looked good. But I haven't cycled back with him to find out.
Well, everything's brown around here now.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I don't
it's
know
that time.
whether it's been, is it boosted, or, I go by the school fields by the elementary school.
Well, those are getting quite brown too.
Yeah, that's my point. That's what got me thinking about.
And my lawn is brown and I water it.
Oh, my God, yes.
My lawn's browned right up.
Right now reminds me of a typical August, when
Yep.
everything
Right.
browns out.
Everything
And
browns
it's
out, yeah.
A month late.
Well, it just,
We need to read.
it flags me that
Yes, we do need that.
we remember, flags me to remember that this was an issue before.
Right,
Water
yeah.
system for the fields, and I'd like to make sure come springtime, and even going into the fall now, that it's not anymore. That it's on
Yeah,
a
it should be on
a
now.
cycle.
I'll just make sure that that's.
That, I don't mean flood it, but just, I don't want anything to burn off.
Okay.
Right,
Because they were brown when you flew over them, when I flew over them in the spring
right.
and in early summer. It was the only thing that was brown in the area. But we discussed that.
That was last year or this year? This year I thought it was okay. The year before I know there was an issue.
They started out this year pretty good, then they browned up real quick.
I'm not going to get that specific right now, because it's an ongoing problem that I think just has to be taken care of every year. And,
Carol,
I hate to see-
we're taking advantage of your time, but somebody had mentioned to me that they also thought that Children's Beach or the water may have been shut off. And I understand that watering property costs money, and then as we water property and it grows and stays green, then it costs more money to mow and maintain. So I mean, I understand that, but how were those decisions made? You know, who's making the decisions that have to do with a financial investment to keep a playing field or a park or something greener longer for our residents versus cost-saving decisions? Who's making those decisions?
The financial ones I make with the help of the foreman, but a field decision is different from children's.
Mhm.
Children's stays on until it just gets so soggy that, you can't use it. That's water.
Okay, so
The,
that one's really dried up. It has this,
It has, okay.
especially the corners up near the concession stand around there. It's really worn out. Right, really dried up this summer, more than usual.
But that's not a function of irrigation, it's a function of something else?
No, that probably would be the
Okay.
irrigation not being
Okay.
on enough.
Okay.
And
Or
my
re-
guess
or
is
reaching
that
those
he
corners.
hasn't turned it back
Maybe,
up to where
right.
it was.
Okay.
So I'll have to remind him. So we'll definitely take a look at both
So you say
irrigation
turned it
systems.
back up to where it was, so you are cutting them back.
They
But
can
you
be
said-
regulated, yeah.
You said they keep running all the time, and just
Yeah.
cut them way back.
Yep, children's especially runs pretty constantly. It's just dialed back. Like right now it's pretty dry, so it should be up. And my guess is that it was dialed back and not dialed up again.
I interrupted you, and you were about to talk about BART.
The children's concession stand, we had wanted to get everything together and bid and constructed for next May. And what we had wanted to do was a design build where we sent it out to the architect and he hired the contractors and we were able to finish it. But the procurement laws require that that kind of a project has to be a minimum of $5 million. So as a result, we lost some time going out to bid for an architect. So we have to get a designer. We have to get a designer to work on making sure that when we do the renovation, we meet the flood requirements, the new building code requirements, as well as make sure that we're providing sufficient storage for visitor services, increasing the size and the number of stools in the bathrooms. So it doesn't look like we're definitely not going to make it for next
So we can get ready now for next year, though.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that
so we'll-
this time next year we can start building.
We'll,
And the approvals that you get now, and the process that it takes between all what you mentioned, with the new building code, the designer, the conservation commission, and all the other things that are involved, and then have a builder picked who can withstand the increase in price of lumber between the time of his bid and by the time we finally allow him or her to start building, then that's a great plan.
Yeah.
Not to think that we would do it by 2000.
I didn't think we'd make this for
no,
this
no.
next
So we'll
year.
get the architect to do the
So-
design, and then we'll go out to bid on the construction, probably next
In the
summer,
in
so
the
that
spring,
we can
yeah.
get them in the ground immediately as soon as the
So
Next
this
summer.
ti- Yeah, so that this time next year, they start building.
Right, but
Right.
I'm just thinking about are we going to make it available to a tenant?
Oh, yeah, it's going to stay exactly the way it is right now. So Bart will have the exact same arrangements for next season.
Okay.
He won't get the new one until the following season. The question mark I have in my mind is if the 550,000 is going to be sufficient. So I want to get an architect going so that
Right.
if we need to go to town meeting and get a little bit more. What we're doing there is different from what was originally contemplated, which was a second story on the concession stand.
For what, storage?
Well, there was some talk about using it for people to sit.
Oh,
Yeah.
But having to raise the building now and making the other changes is going to increase the cost. We actually talked about possibly rotating the building 90 degrees so that it faces the grass area.
uh-huh.
So that's a possibility as well.
And the playground we talked about for
Yep,
this winter?
I looked into two vendors, Game Time and Landscape Structures. Game Time, in my experience, has a little less robust of a play equipment. It's still very good. And right now they have a really good grant program where they'll entice you to purchase their equipment and
Right.
give you a grant at the same time. So as soon as I get an idea from them what the possibilities might be, I can bring it to the next meeting.
Like what we talked about before, is that something that we could build with volunteers or anything, or do they have to come and build it?
The uprights
Right,
really need to be very,
going cement and whatnot?
very technically located,
Right,
almost surveyed in so that you can get everything to fit. When it comes time to putting the pieces together, it's just a lot of finding the right piece and the right bolts and
right. 'Cause
bolting
the last one we
together.
put together, the Boy Scouts, and it was a Eagle Scout program in the spring. In fact, it was Tim Lepry's son that did it, with all his scouts that were under him.
Yeah,
And I think there's a plaque down there for Tim on that.
When I was working in Shrewsbury, we did one at the Spring Street School, the
Right.
wooden one, and it was all done with volunteers.
So what's this going to be, metal and?
Metal and plastic.
Metal and plastic, okay,
Or composite.
right.
That will sustain the weather.
It will.
Yeah.
It's not quite as authentic as the
Right.
wood, but it does hold up. So,
Okay.
see, I'm missing it.
I think you covered an awful lot. And I
Right.
appreciate you giving us all this information.
I did want to give you one more thing. So you see it before they put it in the paper. We had a request from the Inky for information about Parks and Recreation savings when the consolidation was done 5 or so years ago. And Greg took information from the finance department. It talks about attachments. I can forward those to you. It's basically the budget from that time frame. But what's interesting is the table that he has and the comparison of the expected or budgeted savings of 203,000 and the actual saving of 345,000. And that was a one-time savings because the DPW absorbed and continued doing the work.
What's that, per year, you save 345,000 in 1 year?
No, it's a one-time savings. When the consolidation was done, it was that one time.
One time save,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'd be happy to forward the attachments to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see all of that.
I'll include this too, so if you want it in digital.
Again, I say thank you very much for coming in. It's great to have It's great to know what's going on.
And right now, it's very busy.
And
It is, a lot of complaints, I'm sure, come in.
It's funny, the summertime is a lot more, work items that we have to catch up on. We started work orders in the third week in June. As of the first week in August, we had written 450 work orders, and 350 of them had been finished, besides their regular duties. And then the month of August, it was 300, and since September 1st, it's been under 100. So it's really
Good relief.
tapering down, yeah.
Yep.
Welcome relief. And we can actually get in the road without people flipping us off. All that fun stuff.
And as much as there's a decrease in personnel needed to do the same job as was done before, and still be able to claim that there's the greater economy of scale and greater efficiency, is there a plan to increase the number of staff to help make it more?
You bring up a very good point. I have had discussions with Greg and Libby that the DPW, probably when you were involved, was 30 men, and
Right.
we have 18. And so she and Libby and Greg have agreed that the reason we get so many complaints is we just don't have
You don't have the staff to do
the
it.
staff to, I mean, it's not that they can't do it, they can do it. It's just
Are you the one who goes before the finance committee for the DPW?
I'll need to do that. Actually, probably meet with the selectmen first, because it's going to be a significant budget increase, and it won't be all at once. They've agreed to 6 new people, which will certainly be very helpful. We do have funding to hire 10 seasonal people, but
You just can't get them.
we are lucky to have 6. We don't have. I did lose 2 seasonals because there wasn't housing, but I have to say most of the resumes that come in are just not good.
What do you pay the summer staff now?
The first year is $16.
16?
17 for the second, 18 for the third, 19 for the fourth.
But you won't, they still don't hire high school kids, though, right?
Be 18.
Right, yeah. See, with Park and Rec, we hired high school kids. That's how we got our grass cut.
No.
See, we had 6 kids working for us.
And
If I
at
could
half
go
the
below
price and twice the intelligence, it really works out.
Well, I would, the only thing they couldn't do would be drive.
Right,
our equipment,
right.
our
They
trucks.
can't do that, right. All they could do is cut grass.
They could mow.
Right.
And weed whack.
Even if you hired high school seniors who are maybe 17.
I did ask Nikki and Paul to go to their teams and say, come on. And they all said, we're not going to go pick up trash downtown.
Right, yeah.
Libby wants me to have somebody full-time downtown, just to pick up.
That's a good image thing, too.
Well, we had a guy that was great.
Oh, yeah.
He ended up with an issue. So he's.
Yeah, he was
The
good.
new kid
Then after
goes
that,
around,
you
they're all right. I mean, it's just an image thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
you had another kid after him, though.
Yeah. And,
He did a real good job.
19 years old.
Right.
And we could only leave him down there until noontime, because after noontime it got so crowded that he couldn't move. So,
Yeah. I saw him down around Children's Speech,
yeah.
around that area, and real good job.
The guy who was before him, obviously in his 60s and a lot more maturity, and
Right.
could see what needed to be done, and he
He
was
was great.
just really good.
He was really good.
But Chris did a good job.
Right.
But Libby wants me to figure out how to keep somebody down there full time, year round.
Right.
I just don't know how I can do it in the wintertime.
When I was out there, what we did was
I'd like to.
we sent 5 or 6 guys down there every morning at 7 o'clock, 7 to 9. For 2 hours, we sent them.
Now, send them down when the town employees go to work. Send them. When I got here in 1986, I rented from Rhoda Wyman, and at 8 o'clock, I hate the mornings. 8 o'clock in the morning, I was sweeping the sidewalk, because I knew that's when the town employees would go to work. I wouldn't put an ad announcing them here.
Yeah.
And at 4 o'clock, sweeping again. And then, after a couple of weeks, months, it was like, not even that long, as they knew who I was, where I was from.
We did do that, except for the second half of the summer, everybody was on overtime, so they would
Right.
start at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right, because they were cleaning the
Sweeping
beaches.
and-
Right.
Yeah, and they would just jump to the next thing, so I couldn't pair
Right.
them away.
Right,
So
yeah,
you don't see that it's clean, you only see when it's dirty.
exactly.
And when you see the people cleaning it, that's the timing.
Yeah, it was famous, especially down in Nantucket. We had, Nantucket Trust didn't want us to have the porta potties or the trash barrels in their parking area, so
Right.
we had to move it back to the end of
Back
Nantucket
to the end of the
Road.
road.
And we had moved it out of there because those people had complained that they didn't think it was a very good look for the end of Nantucket Road. So we ended up with a battle royal down there between nobody wanting.
But those people at the end of Nantucket Road made out because they just got a big piece of land from the town to move the house back.
Yeah, and they were the biggest complainers.
They were the biggest complainers to Park and Rec.
Yeah.
Her father never complained at all. Her father was real easy to work with. We had no problem with her father.
John calls it the witches of Eastwood.
Right, yeah. We used to work with her father, and he was real nice.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, while Kara's here, and by the way, thank you. I think this is fantastic, and it's nice to see so much of that work moving forward and us talking about it, which I think is really important. So I understand the labor conundrum for you. You know, if you have to fit in a budget, then you also have to recruit, and a combination of both of those things could make things difficult. So as it relates, though, to beaches and parks and playing fields, you know, and the like, I would just ask that for the DPW and town management to be thinking about on a move forward through collaboration, how might we start looking to benchmark expectations? Because having somebody mowing the field once a week doesn't necessarily still meet the benchmarking or the expectation of what a quality job is, right? So, you know, and especially if you're using temporary or summer workforce, that makes it harder. So, you know, I'm empathetic to that, but at the same time, I think it's not just about body count. You know, it's about what really is the expectation for the condition of the fields. Where do we trim? What sense of urgency is there if we have brownouts or it's not taking seeding? There's been a lot of ink in the newspaper, which is great that the community is concerned about their beaches and parks. I think that's a good thing, that we have a lot of people that would love things to be better. So I would just ask for, on a move forward, we have a little bit of time to think about what that benchmarking is and what that oversight is, and how this commission can provide value, you know, to the work that you're doing, because it's not just you're not just working on fields. You're working on keeping downtown clean and fixing roadways and other things, and we understand that. But I think the benchmarking and the expectation is really important. That said, Mr. Chairman, I think there's an opportunity for us to have a conversation about submitting a survey or a questionnaire at year's end through the town clerk's office during census. And I don't know at what point in time and with whom we have to have that conversation.
I think that's a great
But it
idea.
might be interesting for us to do that and help everybody.
It's a good idea, because while we're recognizing the wide scope and responsibilities of the DPW as a commission, our focus is right here on our properties, and making them safe, comfortable, and pleasant for people to enjoy, not just through visitor services, but through the teams that come out here and pay to play as well. So to Rich's point, I think we should find out more about the properties and say, just within our scope, find out what people want to see. And we wouldn't expect that to be the genesis of any other department but ours. And I think short of, if we don't do that, we'll never get the type of data we're looking for. We'll see some ink in the paper. We'll hear people talking behind their back about something not being good, but there'll be no one to put their thumb on it and say, here's something that has to be done. Here's a very specific survey. You use these formats to get other good data. Let's do it in this case as well.
I know the open space and recreation plan has, that Andrew's working on, it should be coming out any time, and and again, this was probably a year or so ago.
Right.
There was a recreation
Yep,
survey.
I did see that.
I don't know if it addresses that.
Nope, that's great. I'll go back. I haven't looked at that for a while.
My other thought was, it's late for this season, but WPI has students that come every fall, and they did a dog park study for Richard last
Yes,
year.
right.
Maybe we could have them do a parks and recreation study. One of the topics that I have kind of simmering in the back is the condition of Tom Nevers. It's the two playing fields are good, but there's a lot of stuff going on there that's not really well kept. That building out there, I'm afraid is going to fall down before too long.
Well, the guy that took half that building down was supposed to build us a new building. That was the agreement we had with him.
You never did.
And he's the one that we talked about earlier in the
Yep.
meeting about, still owes us the money for it.
Doesn't owe us the money, Jack.
He does. We had a deal worked with him.
For instance, when the fair went out, the guys were working 3 or 4 days beforehand, getting everything ready, and when they went to plug in the electricity, the electrical box was gone.
Gone?
Oh, it was gone.
Gone.
Oh,
So
boy.
we had to buy a whole new electrical.
One of the, did it go with the music people? They take it with them, probably?
Probably.
Somebody?
Oh, A2.
Was there any taxpayer dollars required that you didn't expect for the music festival?
More oversight to make sure everything was completed. We did have to go out and dress up the ruts that were made in the field. And
There was some
the-
fencing on too, I believe.
Yes, there was some fencing that was in place.
Irrigation was okay?
Well, it did need some repair, but we were able to repair it. We didn't need to replace it.
Repaired as a result of the festival?
The ruts that were made in the field, in the, I always forget which ones was the baseball.
The baseball field, yeah.
I mean, specifically, the irrigation system was damaged because of that.
Yeah, one of the pipes snapped, and we were able to put a couple.
I mean, they paid for it, but we just had oversight.
Yeah, I guess, David, did the music festival, I know they were supposed to pay $1,000. Did that go to visitor services or to the selectmen?
I think it went to somebody, and I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
but
I didn't
if
see
They
it.
paid,
Maybe
The money.
Ann McAndrews. It might have been through Ann's
yeah,
office.
I think
There's
that's
a
where it
quick
went.
sidebar there, and I'm not going to get into it this evening. Money that's paid when you go out there, where does the money go?
Well, it's supposed to go into the Parks revolver, and we do have a line item in the revolver that's rental of facilities. It's supposed to all go in there.
Okay, so we've still got the Parks revolver
Yeah, we do.
operating.
Does that
Good.
revolver still take all the
That's
parking
good.
fees? Is that where those go as well?
Parking fees?
Yes, when the fair that was just there, charging $10 a head for everybody
No,
to show up.
there's a
That's their
separate line
money.
item for the
That's-
fair.
Yeah, we only get $1,000 a day.
Right, I understand that, but I'm just wondering, where does that money go that they're collecting?
Into the Parks revolver.
Not the 1,000, but the parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Parks revolver, there's a line item called the fair. And the money that they take in goes into that line item. We pay bills out of it, and anything that's left over is used for the next year's fair.
We being,
DPW.
so it goes to the DPW.
Earmarked for.
Actually, David and Kate collected it and will deposit it.
It's already been deposited at the
And
finance
finance.
office with Kathy Richin.
Finance will
And-
put it
and-
into the line item for the
For-
fair in the revolver.
Good.
Yeah, it's, the money situation is because there's so many different facilities and so many different things going on, it's a task to keep everything straight. There's lacrosse camp and soccer camps that haven't been paid for yet, so we have to start chasing them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, really, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
I was gonna suggest that maybe if Paul Boucher has some availability, maybe he can come in next time and he can give you the details as to how he manages the fields.
That'd be great.
Takes care of that.
Right.
I mean, just for informational purposes, and then if there's something in particular that you think would be appropriate for him to add into the program. He's been, I have to say, very, very diligent about maintaining. He's working with Dave from the Nantucket Golf Club.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Anyway, the head,
the grass guy.
groundskeeper. So, and he is certified. He's gotten a license from the town for fertilizer application. So
he's on the
stepped up.
turf fields as well. That's his
Yes,
purview
those are
as
his
well.
as well.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
He does
if he's got an oversight for everything, Delta, and
Right.
children's, Tom Nevers,
Children's.
as well as the roadsides. He does the
I
roadsides.
think that would be terrific
Yep.
to find out what's going on.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night, thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Kara.
Rich, would you like to give us a CPC update?
Yeah, just very quickly, and Kara already alluded to it, there was a submission, an updated submission for the field house for $700,000. I'm still learning our protocol at CPC. At what point do we share out what was submitted? You would think Park and Rec would have full visibility to that. So my first meeting was Tuesday, but there was a $700,000 plan. I'm still of the opinion that before any of us collectively were to move forward with a clubhouse at Novadear, that we probably have an opportunity still to make sure we're speaking to enough of the folks that are running youth soccer and lacrosse and et cetera. I mean, I'm hearing two priorities from some of those individuals. One is to make sure that we provide enough cover, for children and adults during storms. Having just come up from Florida, I'm really sensitive to that, but there seemed to be, that was an issue that Rich Brannigan mentioned, so we'd like to have some visibility to that. I think from a procedural standpoint, that makes sense to get that input. And also the whole issue of storage, for them, and when they have literally hundreds of kids participating from Nantucket and youth soccer in the fall, what storage is there? How do we provide access? How do we manage it? I don't have a predisposition of what's right or wrong.
In other words, we don't have a locker room. There's not a locker room there for them. They get dressed at home and go ready to play.
Well,
And understood. I don't.
Protection from lightning sounds a really good idea.
But
Right.
are they schlepping equipment all the time? Can some equipment be stored there? I don't think it should be a locker room either, Jack. But if nothing else, I think once we take a look at that, we don't. Receiving input doesn't necessarily mean we follow a path, but at least receiving input from those people that are managing the children, managing adult leagues, and seeing if it would service their needs the best for the amount of money we're spending would seem to be a good part of the procedure.
Yep.
$700,000, we should be able to get it
Oh, yeah.
Without a
good building.
basement, yeah, and without a basement, because
Right.
I know
without an upstairs.
when Tara was here and took the basement out, she thought the building
Just
was down to
one roof
400.
line to it, not two or three like the other one had.
So that's the request.
Didn't she say 550,000?
What's that?
Didn't she say 550?
She said 700, but she had mentioned that there was 150 or 160 left.
Left over.
Left
Yeah.
Got
over,
it.
and maybe that's, and I'm not sure how that works either. I
Got it.
apologize, I'm still learning.
Well, there was a carryover in the cost of the field. It
Right.
was brought from Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
Just because over time, field costs
Right.
went up.
Well, what it is, 350,000 went towards the fields. Now we're getting 150 of that 350 back.
Okay. But 700 was what they submitted, so understanding how that 150 plays in that, I'll know more. Certainly, I'll know more next time.
Yep.
Or can share out in between as appropriate.
Good.
But
Super.
that would be it.
Thank you for taking on the CPC
Oh, thank you.
responsibility on behalf of the commission. I think that was a wise move on the part of the commission to put you there.
Great.
And that's what's most important.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no notices, we'll just run down the list. No financials. We might be able to take financials off of our agenda.
Sure.
Just permanently.
Right, because
If I can
we really don't
make
get
an
into it.
executive decision here. And as of 1902 hours, is there a motion to adjourn this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Thank you, Mr.
done. Thank you all very much. Good evening.
We're still being recorded.
Good. Did I tell you about my secret life?
Remember, we're still being watched.
I know.
Keith, everybody knows.
Until I go downstairs
Everybody
and turn
knows.
off the,
Thank you, Jack, as always.
Good seeing you again, Jack.
Thanks
for my in-town meeting with you the other day.
That's all right.
Let's do that again.
Do it again sometime. We'll get a lot done.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David, for all of your work.
I promise I will bring the minutes
Oh,
in
please.
the next meeting.
Fine.
You know, you see us stressing out.
No, I know, but, you know, I just want to be perfect, that's all.
Well, you'll be the only one.
Good night.
Good night.